Welcome back to the Manifest Sheet podcast this week. I am Shannon. This is where we talk everything psychology behind your vision board. Members with me use a vision diary. We do talk about everything manifestation, what to do so you can truly create the life that you already know is yours. And y'all, I'm telling you, I have recorded this podcast twice now. I think something's wrong with my mic cord. I'm going to troubleshoot that later. This is the third time. Third time is a charm. I'm using a different mic. Hopefully this will help us out a little bit. I'm going to read the transcript from the second one that I recorded because I deleted the first one. But honestly, it came through so great. Bear with me. If you're watching the video on YouTube, absolutely, I'm reading this. If you're just listening to audio only on like Apple or Spotify or whatever, you're not going to know the difference. But I've been at this all morning and I don't want to do another take. Love you. And I love to be awe-inspired, but I was awe-inspired 2 other times before. And now I'm a little frustrated. So I'm going to use the tools at my disposal. I'm going to use the transcript I had, and we're just going to go from there because I really want to talk about your imagination, your dreams, your hopes, all those images that are in your brain. And sometimes we think, well, that's not meant for me. I might think it, but it's really not for me. But if it wasn't meant for you, it wouldn't have come to you. And I truly believe that. So I want to talk today about something that's going to change the way that you look at those dreams, those visions, and creating your ideal life in the most practical way possible. Because I think a lot of times we blame ourselves for not being able to manifest. We see people on social media and it feels like they have cracked some big mystical code where they can close their eyes, make a little wish, and it all comes true. And then you're stuck like, well, what am I doing wrong? Why can't I get there? Am I not woo enough or spiritual enough or any of those enoughs? But you are. What I want you to understand is that once you understand that it's literally just your brain doing its job, then things get a whole lot simpler because it's not some mystical code to crack. So first things first is that you didn't pick the wrong pictures when you made your vision board, or you didn't imagine the wrong thing as you were closing your eyes last night, going to sleep and picturing what it would be like. And I want to start there because a lot of times we think, well, it's not working because it's the wrong thing. Maybe I'm not specific enough. Or maybe I just have to do a whole lot of work. Maybe I just have to heal. For my vision board girlies, maybe you're thinking, maybe you didn't stare at your vision board long enough. You know the trends of you should have it as a screensaver on your phone so that you're always looking at it. And then you really don't look at it when you open your phone because if you're like me and you just put your little thumbprint on there, the screen comes up, not the screensaver, that kind of thing. And none of those things are the issue. That's not the wall that you're running into, so to speak. It's your brain doing what your brain was designed to do. And until you understand that, and until you understand how your brain filters your world, AKA how you experience your reality, your dreams, your desires, your wants, are all going to feel a little bit like a lie, maybe like you're a fraud. I recently had someone say that I feel like I have imposter syndrome. And I was like, for what? You kick ass. She just happened to be doing something she has never done before. So she was dealing with the unknown and the brain was like, ooh, like that's what the brain does. It tries to pull you back. That's its job. And it's not because it doesn't like you. It's because it does that to keep you safe. That's all. And I don't want you to feel like you're an imposter. I just want you to know what's happening. And all of the feeling like being an imposter or a fraud or like life wasn't meant for you will go out the window once you understand what is going on in your brain. It's not a you problem. Yes, it is your brain, but it's not a problem in your brain as if there's something wrong with you or you should be better. You don't realize is that your brain is not looking at your desires across the board in the same way, number one. Your brain is looking at what do I believe? And it's basing everything it does based on what you already believe. And just because you believe something that doesn't necessarily serve you anymore doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. Okay? It's just sorting all of the things that you want. Now, I know when we go to vision board parties or we talk about manifestation, we talk about the areas of our life. Like, what do you want for your finances? What do you want for your career? What do you want for your home? What do you want, for your relationships? And we try and break it apart and we try to isolate our lives into these areas. Now, first of all, the areas of your life are not isolated. They are not compartmentalized. You're a whole as human being. So all of them bleed together, right? Have you ever heard the phrase, like, if you're having financial trouble in your marriage, it messes with your relationship? Yeah, because the areas of our lives touch. And funny enough, your brain knows this too. So that's why when we're sorting things out, we're doing it in a way that we have been taught to do, but our brain is doing it in a way of what it believes is possible for you. I said it 3 times on purpose. Once again, what it believes is possible for you, not the women around you or people in general. You see, a lot of the manifestation advice for the masses is exactly that. It's for the masses. So it's meant to be given in general. But this is really based on everything that you've experienced, that you've been told, every story, every belief that's running in the background of who you are, and yours are not the same as anybody else. Your brain, your thoughts, your beliefs are just as unique as a fingerprint. And so generalized advice is a good starting point sometimes, but it's not going to get you far if we don't bring it into the unique perspective of who you are. And the easiest way to do that is to just focus on beliefs. And once again, I'm not talking about a healing journey. While I talk about psychology-based manifestation, we're not doing therapy. If I wanted to be a therapist, I would have went and been a therapist. We're focusing on building beliefs in a psychology-backed way. I am not talking about healing. I want to do embodiment work in the present so that becomes our real life. But a lot of times in the space, we're made to feel like something is wrong with us, or that we're broken, or that we have to heal deep healing of limiting beliefs. And we don't. We just have to change those beliefs. That's all we got to do is change our beliefs and step forward. We don't have to go back and hash it all out. Now, I'm not saying that therapy is not valuable, and I will never say that, but I'm not that. And if you need that, I want you to seek out a professional who functions in that area. But here on this podcast, that's not the realm that we go into. So I just want to make that clear as we go through talking about what our brain does, because our brain is not compartmentalizing and sorting based on how we've been taught. Our brain is just simply saying, is this within reach? Could it be nice? I'm not sure. I'm not of how to do that, but I think I could. Or hell no, this ain't possible for me. That's the only categories your brain cares about because it's based in belief. Your brain is sorting your world based on what you believe, not based on friendship, intimacy, job, house, location, vacation. That's not what your brain's doing. And so as we go through this work, I want you to remember we're not categorizing. We're just looking at what do I desire and what belief is attached to it. That's it. You don't have to do anything else. You know, if you say you want to have a successful business, you don't have to just stick that into a career category, because a successful business means managing the time the way you want to manage time. It could be more time for family. It could be all sorts of things that touch all sorts of parts of your life. So remember, you're first of all just looking at the desire and then the belief that you need to work on so that you can have your brain focus on that. Because as your brain is sorting, it is saying this is what you can experience. You believe this, so this is what you're going to experience. That's what the brain is doing. Belief, experience, they go hand in hand, okay? So we have to change the belief to change the experience. So what does that mean, Shannon? That's manifesting, right? Yep, that's manifesting. But let's talk about that, because it's not saying an affirmation. It's not just staring at a vision board. It's not meditating for a certain amount of time. It's not being your best delusional self. Not any of those things that have been told for you to do for every single desire you have. And that's the first problem, because manifestation work can feel exhausting and not like it's worth it. And oh my God, there's something else to put on my plate. I just don't have time for that. I don't have time for mindset work every second of every day. My mental load is already at capacity. I can't just keep thinking positive thoughts and having gratitude and trying to look at things with the glass half full like I'm tired. That constant brain monitoring. We don't need to put more on our plate in that sense, but that generalized advice says that all of your desires need this kind of work. So that's the second thing I want to talk about, is that they don't. So the first thing is just belief equals experience. We got to change the belief to change the experience. And number 2 is not everything you desire needs belief work. Ha ha! Please feel free at this moment. Not every desire you have needs belief work, and not every desire you have is ready for you to work with it. The only thing that needs belief work is things that fall within the manifestation zone. There's 3 zones that your brain works in. And if it doesn't fall into zone 2, you don't have to spend any energy on it because everything doesn't fall there. Some stuff, you don't have to really do anything with it. Some stuff, you're going to have to wait on it, and that's completely okay. I think back to when my son was learning to drive. And to start, we just drove in a parking lot until he got comfortable. Then we drove around the neighborhood. Then we went on some more heavy traffic roads, but we were still in town. We didn't get on the highway right away. And it is ridiculous to think that when you are first starting, you're going to go straight to the highway. But we treat manifestation like that, right? I'm just going to jump way over here. And that's where you think, oh, they must have it figured out. No, they built their way up to it just like anybody else. And that doesn't mean it has to take forever. It doesn't have to mean that it's something far off 10 years down the road. It doesn't mean that either. If you're working in the manifesting zone, things come quicker and you learn how to work with them better and you start closing those gaps faster. Because really, if I came on here and I told you to just go be delusional AF, that would be like me sticking you on the highway from day one, not knowing what to do, and you're going to crash. Until you learn first things first and how our brain works and how our brain changes. And they're wired a certain way, but we can change those wires and change those paths. Nothing's going to move. You're just going to crash and burn, crash and burn, crash and burn. And I don't want you crashing and burning. I want you to have those dreams. I want you to have those desires. All those images in your head, I want you to be living them. So I developed a Vision Diary cheat code just for that, to walk you through the steps to understand where to put your energy. Not what to do with your energy, but where to put your energy so that you can understand where to do the mindset work. The starting point to closing the gap between you and that highway. Because, right, we're not starting on the highway. And it doesn't mean that you suck or you haven't figured out that big mystical way. The more you close your eyes and it just magically pops into existence, it doesn't work that way biologically with your brain. Let's do what our brain was created to do. And your brain was made to help you create your reality, but only if you know how to work with it. And it can be rewired. You're not stuck. You're never stuck. Your brain is malleable, is forever able to change neuroplasticity so that you can sort it into what you now want to experience, so that you can make the belief of what you want to have by changing those beliefs, right? We're just changing the direction of the brain. But we have to know where to start and where to put our energy. You have to work on it so that you can experience what you want. All the experiences are already out there. They're already available. They're already possible. Your brain's just narrowing it down to be efficient based on beliefs. And the only way to change course and to experience that difference is to do belief work, aka manifestation work, mindset work. But to do this, you have to know where to work. You have to know what to do. You don't have to apply it to everything you want. You don't have to apply it to every desire. And that's what the cheat code helps you to do. It helps you decide how to narrow it down. Where do I do this mindset work? Because y'all, I know I started with 7 minutes a day, then I went to 20, and then I got to this really cool place with my time where I had 2 hours a day. And I can spend 2 hours a day doing mindset, embodiment, all that stuff. But I didn't want to do it for 2 hours a day because I wanted to enjoy the life that I was creating, actually be a participant in it. And so I went back to the 20 minutes because that's all it really takes. It doesn't take constantly monitoring your thoughts 24/7. It doesn't take being delusional for 30 days. It doesn't take all that. All it does is understanding your desires, understanding where they fall into relation to how your brain is currently sorting things. And there are, once again, 3 zones that your brain sorts those into. So your desires and your wants can be in one of 3 zones, and only one of the zones is where you really need to put any energy. And that's what the cheat code does for you. It helps you to determine what zone instead of exhausting yourself and having nothing move. Because you're trying to work with every single desire you have, and you don't have to. And that's the beauty of it. Because if you work within this one zone, everything else will fall into place. Remember, we're not compartmentalized. Where do you need to do your manifestation work? That is the start. Is to know where your desire lives that needs your attention. What desires need work? because manifestation is work. It is not floating through life. It is not passive, but it's not exhausting like hustle and force. It's not tiring either. You don't have to, white knuckle it and keep white knuckling it to keep it. That's not manifestation work. That's hustle work. So it's not passive. It's not hustle. And if you work with your brain and you work with the filter of the brain, you can train your brain to automatically experience what you want. That's how it works with beliefs. Whatever's in your subconscious, whatever belief you have back there is 95% of your day. It's being filtered there. It's being sorted there. And that's what you experience in the 3D world and the physical world. And to start, I want you to get the Vision Diary cheat code so that you can begin to see some results, to know where you're going to put your energy to make the most impact. It's a mini video training, and I also included a custom GPT. So that's like one-on-one coaching with me. A custom GPT is not prompts. It's programmed as me to help you figure out, what do I even need to work with? What desire should I put my energy towards? So you can get it at manifestshe.com/cheat code. I'll also put it in show description because I don't want you exhausting yourself trying to do belief work that you don't need to do, or doing belief work that's not going to move the needle at all. And the cheat code is going to tell you exactly where to go and where to put your energy to be most effective for you. Because you don't have all the time in the world to use all of the manifestation tools all day long, because you have things going on in your life. So let's take it and make the most impact to close the gap between where you are and where you're trying to go. That's the step to take to really begin this work. And that's when your visions and your dreams and everything you're imagining stops feeling like you're being an imposter or a fraud or lying to yourself. And it starts to feel like a map. I'll chat with you next week.
If you loved today's episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and share it with your fellow warriors. Let's create a ripple effect of liberation. Until next time, stay fierce, stay fabulous, and as always, live life unapologetically.